So Miss Rhoda's dilemma, right? What's Miss Rhoda's dilemma? She is living with her sister. She's living in a room divided by string. And it is a play that was written in the mid of the 20th century, around the same time as Waiting for Godot. You all know Waiting for Godot? And there was this, what we used to think was incredibly cool attitude of everything changes but everything stays the same. This around the time when we have something like no exit, the existentialist philosophy that we find ourselves in this place. We don't know why we're here. We can't go anywhere. You know, this paralysis. And you have these two sisters who are living in a kind of cocoon, this cycle about the milk. And they fight, and they make up, and they fight, and they make up, and the day ends, and it starts over again, That used to be very, very, very sexy to a generation of intellectuals. And even for myself, I loved it as well, although my temperament never allowed me to really believe that that was the fact. Now, what does that have to do with that worldview, have to do with a person like Rosa Parks, who one day said, I'm just not going to take it anymore. So, two different worlds, two different ways of thinking. One's not better than the other, but both of them exist in me. Artists should be free. Artists should be free to be irresponsible. Artists should be self-absorbed. Artists should be listening to something that maybe very, very few people can understand. But the same token, artists are trying to, I think artists are trying to communicate. Communicate what? The fact that everything is useless? That we can't make any changes? So I think Quarreling Pair for me was a way of not answering that question, but at least trying to show it in a playful way that was a demonstration of what I think might be my problem right now. I want to make an art that appeals to a lot of people. It's a very strange piece, I'm sure you will agree. It's not exactly going to make it on So You Think You Could Dance, you know, or American Idol. But there's some broad humor in it. It's very colorful. It's like a vaudeville show. What could be more lowbrow than a vaudeville show? What do you mean by lowbrow? What does that term, lowbrow, mean? You guys are a talkative group, huh? Don't make me get into a bullying mode. I'm more than capable, right? What do you mean? Take a chance. What's lowbrow? What's lowbrow?
It appeals to anyone.
Oh, anyone.
Lower class, not just sophisticated.
Anyone lower class? Oh, God, all disgusting pejoratives, huh? Yeah, but in other words, as they would say in William Shakespeare was a genius because he knew how to write, and he could write for the smartest people in the room, and he could write to the ones who want to see bear fighting, or what we call it, what kind of martial arts. Name your martial arts right now where you get to tear another guy apart and people as entertainment, or dog fighting. Yeah, he was able to do ultimate fighting. He was able to write at all those levels, right? So I guess the lowbrow would be the people down here who needed broad humor, clowns, and then the highbrow, which probably does have more than a little bit of reference to class, the aristocracy, the better educated, you'd be talking to it another way. So my problem right now is that I am, by nature, an intellectual. I am sufficiently alienated to actually oftentimes be disgusted with the majority of people, because that's what the highbrow stance is. The majority of people in the world are stupid. The majority of the people in the world don't know. That's why they can have the leaders that they have that mislead them again and again and again. The majority of the people are, and a small coterie of us, which I'm assuming they're turning out lots of them here at the university, are supposed to be educated and more sensitive, more subtle, right? And we're kind of a self-congratulatory club, right? Whereas the lowbrow, that's the everybody, right? Now, I got news for you. We're all everybody, right? So I'm trying right now to understand my own prejudices, my own problems, in my art. One of those problems is, how can I make an art that's going to actually do something that lowbrow art can actually do well, which is entertain? And let's face it, this life is boring as hell. Or maybe a lot of you are so young, maybe you haven't discovered how boring it is yet. You laugh, huh? Right now it's mildly funny. Fast forward 30 years and it becomes tragic. You know? You know, when you no longer have that nice, tight skin anymore, you go out in the bar and sit and get picked up or pick somebody up. Nobody wants to have sex with you, which is one of the big entertainments of this life, right? Yeah? Is it?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just here to entertain a little bit, right? So, I'm trying to understand how to make something that has, that hits a lot of different notes. And it drives me crazy when people talk about the choral impairment. They just don't understand this person we've heard is so political. You know, how could he be making this thing, this work? Well, have you really looked at what goes on in it? Have you listened to what goes on in it? I wish I had the play with me right now. When I left the house, I thought I should bring the play because Jane Bowles. Do you know much about her? Any of you? You know, this is yeah. Do you know much about her at all? Come on, where are the English teachers here? Where are the Okay, you know who Paul Bowles was?
Sheltering Sky.
Sheltering Sky, yes. Now, The Sheltering Sky was probably the defining novel of, in some ways, of the Beat generation. You have to realize that there was this group of super cool expatriates living in North Africa, and the likes of Jack Kerouac. I'm not sure if Jack Kerouac was there, but I don't know Mr. Allen Ginsberg and William Burroughs. Those names mean anything to you, right? And one of the kind of gurus that everyone made this journey to North Africa was this person, Paul Bowles, who was the consummate intellectual snob, an accomplished musician and a good writer, and he was married to a woman who some said he was even more talented than he, and that was Jane. Jane was beautiful. She was witty, and they had quite a circle. Their parties were legendary, but she was an alcoholic. And she ultimately ended up being put away, and he took care of her for most of her life. But he said he had to struggle to write, and for her, writing was easy. So she writes this play, and the play is dealing with one of her favorite tropes, favorite setups. I believe she was a gay woman. Both he and she were gay, but they were in love. You know how complicated sex is and life is. You can actually be in love with somebody you're not having sex with. You know what that is? I see a couple of heads shaking here. Do you think it's possible? Yeah? Some people call it a loveless marriage. I don't know. Maybe it's a sexless marriage, not love, because they loved each other. But she wrote this play about two women, oftentimes, two Victorian or post-Victorian ladies who are going through some sort of elaborate social ritual, all of this repression, always banging heads. These were the stories again and again and again. There was this sort of like a beast in a closet that these, no pun intended, a beast in the closet, and this relationship is trying to keep it down. The Coral and Pear was her, was this play. The reason I chose it because it was like a bit of a gem that sort of solidified everything I had learned when I read her entire body of short stories. And she's a great short story writer. I really recommend it. My Sister's Hand in Mine is a collection of her short stories. You'll not be disappointed. Some of them are very short, always very peculiar.